So either the Bush administration would need to say something like that kind of real exercise of democratic process is a terrorist act, or it needs to take them off of its terrorist list. The serious consequences of being on that list are many. It makes it very difficult for foreign governments to deal with the government here. That has already been an issue as the Maoists joined in the government here and are part of the current interim government setup. Of course, now they look to take probably certainly a larger part in that government. I should stress that in their public statements immediately after and continuing now, as it's become clear that they're taking a majority, they are absolutely emphasizing that they want to continue with the joint alliance that is governing the country at present. The Constituent Assembly is set to sit for 2 years. So we have at least 2 more years of transitional government to go here. It's a very tricky moment, and they have very maturely and generously, given the tremendous mandate that they're getting, emphasized that the 7-party alliance that has been the structure under which the government is running is something they want to continue. The UML, unfortunately, the United Marxist-Leninist Party, has precipitously withdrawn from the government as of today. One hopes that they'll come back, and it's an unfortunate development, and yet to be seen how serious that is, whether that's really an active form of non-cooperation, which is certainly a concern here. If the Maoists do take a majority, both from the right wing over to the center here, will the other political groups cooperate? And of course, the question of what international forces are going to do. We have many examples around the world of when revolutionary groups take power, even through the ballot box, of either overt or covert forms of trying to derail their political processes. So that's a concern here, very certainly, something Maoists are trying to deal with in a very responsible way.
Asia Times is reporting the Maoist victory in Nepal could pose a threat to the Indian establishment, encouraging galvanizing revolutionary movements in India. Mary Des Chenes, your response to that?
Well, there are certainly groups of analysts who come out of the military tradition in India who will be saying that. And the BJP and the whole the right-wing Hindus, organized political right-wing Hindu groups in India, who very much want to retain the monarchy here, will also be pushing that kind of line. From the left side, you will also see people thinking that this is going to encourage movements that are struggling for people's rights at a very basic level, the majority poor of the subcontinent. And we should remember that both India and Nepal and Bangladesh are majority incredibly impoverished countries, not because they don't have resources, but because of the maldistribution of resources and tremendous inequalities. And of course, there are movements all over all of these countries struggling against that. So looked at from the side of people's movements of many kinds, so not all revolutionary movements, this election has been taken, this election result has been taken as a great encouragement. Looked at from the side of elite politics that want to have democratic processes more in name than in practice, it looks like a threat.
Kashish Das Shrestha, the confusion that Stephen Hadley, the new national security advisor, had between Nepal and Tibet this weekend on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos, repeatedly confusing the two.
Yeah, I know. It was just, it was really funny. And, you know, of course, in this day and age, so easy for it to get picked up on the comedy shows and on YouTube. But he kept on mistaking Nepal for Tibet throughout his conversation, and now it's all over the blog wire and everything. But I just want to get back to this point about India. The External Affairs Minister from India, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, he has spoken to Prachanda recently and has extended the willingness of India to work with the government that is now going to be set up in Nepal. And just to quickly go back on the terrorist list designation, I spoke to somebody at the country desk for Nepal at the U.S. State Department, and he said that the Maoist, Communist Party of Nepal, Maoist, has actually in fact been taken off the foreign terrorist organization list, which is maintained by the State Department, but they're still on the special designated terrorist list, which is apparently maintained by the Treasury Department.
Well, Kashish Das Shrestha, thank you very much for being with us. Freelance journalist, photographer, producer, and host of the podcast In Conversation, which can be found at samudaya.org, samudaya.org. And in Nepal, joining us from Kathmandu, Mary Des Chenes, anthropologist and human rights activist, working in Nepal for more than decades, editor of the Kathmandu-based journal Studies in Nepali History and Society. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. When we come back, we'll be joined by an Egyptian blogger. Stay with us.